things that Doors was most praised for was its replayability, but let's be honest, if you've played enough, it starts to get repetitive, especially when it comes to the rooms you can encounter. So, in this video, I'm going to be designing new room concepts that could shake things up and bring new life to the game. So one of the biggest things I wanted to keep in mind for this video is I want it to be realistic as something the devs could actually do really easily. So in the first part of this video, I'll talk about really easy new room types they could add to the game, and later on I'll go into some of the more crazy ideas. Let's start out in the hotel. The first really easy thing the devs could do to bring new rooms to the game is bring back old rooms that aren't utilized anymore. For example, the old Room 99 before the Hotel Plus update. You know, the one that you'd run away from Figure before you do the electrical puzzle. I think it has a cool style and it would just be a good addition to the roster of rooms we already have. Another old removed room they could bring back is the old hall-to-hallway in the hotel. You know, the creepy one with really high ceilings but really skinny walls? Yeah, that one. The reason I want it back is because it's just creepy. I don't know why, but it just is. And bringing back old halt rooms isn't something they're new to because they actually did it in the mines, keeping the old halt room as a normal room and replacing the one with the actual halt in it. The next removed room that I think they could bring back is the vent rooms, but not the same way as before because that room had some weird bug that made rush pretty much into ambush. So, you know the basement lever rooms? Well, there's something really cool and unique about it because there's actually its own random generation system built into that one room. This is why you never see this same basement room 2 times, because it's always random and different. I think they could turn that sort of thing into the event rooms where you can crouch through a maze sort of thing with little side rooms that you could break open the vents to get some loot. My next idea has to do with those big public bathroom rooms that you see in the Lotus Revive room. But that's actually the only place you see it, because the developers put so much work into creating a complete new style for this bathroom room that you never get to see anywhere else. Yes, there are many singular bathroom side rooms, but nothing that can be seen in a main room. Just look at the concept art. So you go into a normal room, but the door is blocked off. So to the side, there's the public bathroom section that you have to walk through. Yeah, you can interact with the toilets, and the bathroom section itself is different from the Lotus Revive room. Then you walk back into the normal section of the room and proceed to the rest of your run. And honestly, I think they should do a lot more of just remixing pre-existing rooms. It can't be that hard, right? Well, to see if it is actually as easy as it seems, I tried it out in Roblox Studio. I took the basement lever room and turned it into this. I bet you didn't even recognize this room until I told you what it was. And it really was not that hard, at all. This took like 15 minutes and I'm not even a developer. Now of course, it takes time to add nodes for rush and places eyes can spawn and all that kind of stuff, but for the most part, it doesn't take that long. So to the developers, I think you guys should do a lot more of remixing rooms instead of having to do it all from scratch. This next idea helps bring some actual gameplay to some of the other rooms. The idea is to turn some of the other room types into painting puzzle rooms. I thought it was kind of weird that there was only one room that utilized this painting puzzle, but in the mines there's a bunch of different rooms that use the minecart puzzle. So I think they could have turned like the L-shaped room into a painting puzzle room, or maybe the tight squeeze room. But now onto some of the bigger ideas for new rooms for the hotel. One thing I feel like the devs should really do is look at some pictures of old hotels and base some rooms off of this. This is a picture off Google that I think would be a really cool Doors room. Also because they already have a piano model. Honestly, all the models you need, you just need to put them into an actual room. I feel like a big lounge / big lobby section with grand chandeliers would be really cool as a hotel room. And so that all of their work isn't put into one room, I feel like they should do lots of variations if they did a room like this. Because I feel like the community lounging areas in hotels, especially if it looks at all like this picture, would be really cool for Doors. But that's not all, because there's a ton of old hotels they can take inspiration from. But speaking of big grand hotel rooms, I think they could do something really cool with a grand sort of dining room. Maybe not something as big and grand as the Halt's room, but something that utilizes the table model that they already have for the lobby. And finally, for the hotel, I think that the broken rooms have a lot more potential than what they're showing. Almost like how the sewers is the second half of the mines, I feel like the broken rooms should be a lot more prominent in the second half of the game. I think they should be expanded upon a ton. Because right now, yeah, there's some rooms with scattered things and broken lights, but I think they could do a lot more. So here's a few ideas that I had to make broken rooms a lot cooler. Like, imagine the L-shaped room. It's broken, and the main section, or the main pathway, is blocked off by a bunch of different furniture that was stacked up by who knows what. But in the wall, there's a hole in the wall that you can crouch through to get back to the main path and to the exit door. Or how about a ruined room where the main section is once again blocked off and a part of the ceiling broke off in a way that's almost like a ramp, letting you crouch into the ceiling, crawling through it before dropping down into the main part. So yeah, I think they could get really creative with the broken rooms if they really tried hard enough. But now, on to the mines. Now, I actually think the mines does a way better job at room variation, especially because the whole second half is a sewer. But there's a lot of things that they could do to bump this up. I'm actually going to start with my big idea that would actually take a lot of effort to put in, and then after I'll go into my easy to implement ideas. Okay, so I think that the underwater mechanic is super underutilized. Actually being underwater and having to hold your breath is only present in one room, that being the underwater tunnel maze. So here's my idea on how they could use that more without it being just like Pressure where it's underwater rooms that you have to swim through. And I actually made this concept in Roblox Studio, so take a look. Adds a completely new room type for the sewers, because I think the sewers needs to have something different gameplay-wise, and the developers actually said they want that too. There's going to be some rooms. As soon as you walk in, the jumping button activates. You hear water pouring out of some pipes, and water will slowly start to fill up the room. And to survive, you'll have to jump on floating wooden objects, like pallets, to get to the valve to drain the room enough to access the doorway. There could be multiple valves in one room, and this could go on for 3 to 5 rooms. If you fall into the water, you could float back up to the top and try again. And if the developers wanted, they could find a way to bring the unused Wade entity into this room type as a monster that tries to attack you if you fall into the water. That would be extra cool, but Wade isn't necessary to fit this room type since implementing it would be pretty challenging. But now back to some smaller ideas. So as you may know, some mines rooms are actually really big, but have parts that you can't actually access in the normal game. So by turning those sections into their own room would be really cool. For example, this really big mines room that is really rare has a big cave area that you can't even get to in game. Now with the admin panel, I tried going to it and it's actually really big and creepy and dark. All they have to do is add some closets and some entrances and exits to the room, and there you go. This section of one of the mines mid-run rift would also look cool as its own room. For another room, they could use a part of the first figure room that he appears in the mines. That area he can walk around in, you know. It's perfect to be its own room, and it would be really cool to look up and see the bridges above us. And still on the topic of figure, the pipes that he comes out of would be a cool room type of its own. Almost like the vents idea I had for the hotel, where there could be a room where the main path is blocked off and you can only progress to the next room through a big pipe. And once again, still on the topic of figure, the little area that he falls into at the ending of floor 1 would make for a cool room. It would be cool to be able to look down from the elevator shaft, although they might want to put up one of those wooden barriers to stop you from falling down. And finally, to me, real-life caves are terrifying. That's because they're cramped and extremely claustrophobic. So I think if they leaned a lot more into the tight spaces aspect for some rooms, where you have to crouch through extremely tight tunnels or climb up a ladder through a really skinny vertical tunnel, would be terrifying. As long as they make it so that rush or ambush can't spawn when you're in there. So those are my ideas to bring more room variation to the game. Let me know what other ideas you have in the comments, but this is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an impeccable day, and goodbye.